Welcome back to Simbright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, I'll be teaching you how to sew this beautiful waist pleated BUBU kaftan. So here you can see what I got right here. These are my waist pleats and you can see how beautiful this dress looks on me. This BUBU kaftan is actually very gorgeous and beautiful. I'll be sharing with you the tips and tricks to making this beautiful waist pleat the way it is right here with a bogus sleeve. So right here I'm using Ankara fabric. I use a whole 6 yards of Ankara fabric, but if you really want it very puffy, the way it is well puffed in the original picture, use damask fabric. You can use damask, you can also use Mikado fabric. Any fabric that is very thick can give you that puffy look, but I use Ankara and I'm okay with it. So I'm opening up my 6 yards of Ankara fabric. So I'll open my 6 yards of Ankara fabric and I'm putting it together. So you just put your 6 yards together, place it on fold. After placing it on fold, you are going to have 3 yards. You will have 3 yards. Now I'm trying to arrange the 6 yards which I just folded right now to have 3 yards. So this is the folded edge. Now I'm going to pick it up again from the folded part of the 3 yards and I'm going to fold it again. So make sure you arrange it very well. We are using a whole 6 yards, the whole of the 6 yards. So the 6 yards, I've placed it on the first fold, which gave me 3 yards. Then I'm going to pick it up again on the folded edge. So I'm trying to arrange this very well, okay? So please be patient at this point. I'm just trying to make sure the fabric is well arranged. Although I was actually supposed to edit this part, but unfortunately I did not do that. So I'm done folding it, as you can see, the first fold. So now I'm going to pick it up from there and then I'm going to fold it again. So if I fold it again, I'm going to have the second fold. So I folded this 6 yards into 4 right now. So that means the length of this dress from the folded edge is going to be 1.5 yards, which is 54 inches length. So you can see the four of them. So that is what you expected to have. So if you are using damask fabric for this tutorial, you also go about it this way. So I'll now take the length of what I got after folding it the 4th time. So I have 54 inches. You can see 54 inches right there. So now this part is going to serve as center front, center back. So right now I am going to mark 1 inch on the center front and the center back. So that is going to be our zipper allowance for the back and the joining allowance for the front. So I'm marking 1 inch all the way from the beginning to the end. Then on top of the folded edge, you mark 1/2 inch. I just used 1/2 inch for my border line. Now the neck width is 1.5 inches for the back and the neck depth is 3 inches. The neck depth is 3 inches. So I'll connect 3 by 1.5 inches for the neckline for the back. Then the neck width, I'm using 8 inches. You can do 8.5 inches or 9 inches depending on how low you want it to be. After marking the front neckline, I'm going to take the measurement from the center front or center back. I'm taking 30 inches from that point. So here is my 30 inches. I'm going to mark the 30 inches, or you can make it 31 inches for seam allowance. Now from there, I'll come down by 1.5 inches for my shoulder slant. Then I'll connect from my shoulder slant. I'll connect all the way to the 3 inches neckline. That is my shoulder slant. So after that is done, the next thing we are going to do right now is to measure everything that we have from the beginning to the sleeve point. So whatever you get right there is going to serve as a guide, because we are going to cut out the rest of the fabric, the excess we are not using. So I'll begin to mark a straight line from that shoulder slant area. I'll mark a straight line all the way to the length of this fabric. So I'm going to cut out the excess fabric I have. So I measured it and I had 13 inches remaining from that point I marked. So to get a straight line, I was measuring that 13 inches from the line to be sure I have a straight line. So after marking it down, the 13 inches, which is the excess I have, I'm going to cut that excess out. It's not part of the dress at all. So I'll just go ahead and cut it out right now from this point. So you can keep this excess for a head tie, or you can use it for any project of your choice. So now I have cut out the excess and I'm going to add half an inch on my shoulder seam line. So I'll just go ahead and add half an inch for seam allowance. So when I got to the neckline, I have to open up that piece. So I have 4 pieces right there. So you need 4 pieces, and you are going to mark the wrong sides. Make sure you mark the wrong side so you don't mix it up. So the next is to cut out the back neckline. Like I said, I drafted front and back together. So the center back will have a joining and the center front will also have a joining. So I'm going to separate the two of them. I've taken away the back piece. Now I want to cut out the front neckline. So this is how I cut the front neckline. If you want to have that sharp V, just go ahead and cut it this way. Now I'm going to create a facing. So I folded my fabric and I placed the fabric to cut my facing. Of course, you know how to cut your facing. So I secured with my pin and I'm going to trace the neckline, as you can see, accordingly. So once I'm done doing that, I tried curving my facing. So I curved my facing and I measured the width of my facing. It will serve as a guide for the back facing. So I have 4 inches right there. So the next thing I did was to start placing my facing right side to the neckline. I secured with my pin, as you can see. So right now I'll go ahead and stitch half an inch all the way down. So you can see how I'm stitching. The part I'm chalking, that is the part I'm going to stitch right now. I'm stitching half an inch, as you can see. So now I'll make a notch at that junction. Don't forget to make a notch at this junction to ease the neckline. I'll flip all my seams to the facing now and I'll go to the machine and top stitch accordingly. So here I've top stitched and I gave it a good press for the both necklines. Now you are going to put them together. Make sure you put the necklines together. So at that junction, to get that sharp V, make sure you match that junction very well, that point of the V. Then you are going to flip one of your facing to wrap it up, all of them, okay? You are going to wrap up all of that piece and stitch 1 inch downwards. So after stitching, this is what I got. So if I open it up right now, I'm going to have a very beautiful finishing with my sharp V. You can see the sharp V and the facing intact. Now you can go ahead and give it a good press. So the front piece is ready. We'll move over to the back. So for the back, I place my fabric on fold to cut the facing as well. So the facing for the back, I'm also cutting it, tracing out the shape of the back neckline. So I make sure I placed it very well and trace it out accordingly. So now I'm going to split open this facing because we are going to have a zipper at the center back. So the width of the facing is still 4 inches. I wanted my facing to be equal with the front. Now I'm going to place the fabric right side to the facing and I'll stitch half an inch. After stitching, I have to make notches. Always make notches on a rounded part like this. Then after that, I flipped all my seams to the facing and top stitched. Then the facing is ready together with the neckline. So I brought the both neckline together after I'm done preparing the facing. So I'm going to place my zipper. I want to sew my zipper, but I'm going to measure my zip first, then mark the point at which I want the zipper to sit. So I came up by 1 inch and marked. So from that 1 inch, I will go ahead and stitch 1 inch, 1 inch all the way down. After stitching, I have to mark 1 inch for my zipper. So my zip is stitched at 1 inch. I'll go ahead and open it up, and I'll place it, the zip head, at the beginning and stitch and wrap it up with my facing and stitch. So after stitching, this is what I got. You can see what I have right there. So the back piece is ready. Right now we want to start up the main business of this tutorial, which is the waist pleating. For the waist pleating, I'm going to start pleating from the back. But before you pleat, we are going to take the measurement of the waistline. So I'll place my tape on the shoulder. I'm going to take the waistline. My waistline is 17 inches. I added ½ inch for stitching, which is 17.5. I also measure the other part, 17.5. So we are going to pleat on the waist. We are going to pleat on the waist. But then before you pleat on the waist, we are going to also have a little calculation of how much we are going to pleat in. So how much we are going to pleat in depends on your waist circumference. So now my waist circumference I'm working with is 38. I divided it by 4, which is 9.5. So this 9.5, I added 2 inches for ease and for seam allowance. So adding the both of them together is 11.5 inches. So this 11.5 inches now, I'm going to take up my nipple to nipple measurement. So my nipple to nipple divided by 2 is 4. So 11.5, I took away 4 inches. I have 7.5 remaining. So 11.5 minus 4 inches nipple to nipple is 7.5. So all the pleatings are going into the 4 inches nipple to nipple. So I will first of all mark out 7.5 inches first from the outer part of the waistline. Then going inwards, I'll measure everything I have to the zipper. Then divide it by 5 pleats because I'm pleating in 5 number of pleats. So I got 25 there, so I divided it by 5 inches. So if that is what you got for your own, no problem. So just measure everything, divide by 5 pleating. So now I've marked a 5 inches pleating. So I'll pick up the center. I want you to watch how I'm pleating. I'm going to pick up the pleats in between the 5 inches, pick the middle and kiss it to the first marking towards the center back. And as you are kissing it, ensure you spread your pleats towards the sleeve area. Okay, so you just keep picking at the center and marching to the next line, secure with your pin. Of course, you are seeing what I'm doing. So that is exactly what you are going to do. So I actually took my time to pleat this part so you'll be able to understand what I'm doing. Now for the third one, I came and picked the center. You can see what I'm doing. So I'm trying to make it look exactly like what we have on the thumbnail right there. So I'll pin. If I pick, I'll pin. So you need your pins. You need a whole lot of pins for this project. So I'll keep picking and pinning. Then I got to the middle again. I picked and kissed to the next line. I'll secure with my pin. I also picked the middle and kissed it to the zipper point. So that is how I pleated it, but that is not all. We still need to go ahead and stitch. But before that, you need to spread your pleats on the upper parts. You need to spread your pleats on the upper parts. So I'm trying to spread my pleats. Then on the down parts, you are going to bring your pleats together from the waistline below. So just watch what I'm doing and do the same when you are sewing yours. You will get it very, very correctly. So I'll now go ahead and iron. So once you have pleated this way, use your iron to relax it, okay? So you actually need a whole lot of ironing right here. So I'm trying to iron it. So as you're ironing, make sure your pleats goes in the direction of the sleeve, as you saw right there on the thumbnail. So you can see what I'm doing right there. That is for the upper part or the shoulder line area. Then after ironing that part, you come over to the waistline. The waistline will be together. So I'll go ahead and iron together the waist, from the waistline downwards. You iron all the way down together. So I make sure I arranged it appropriately and iron. So this ironing and your pinning will give you this shape, and the fabric you are using is also of utmost importance. If you don't want to use Ankara, use Damask or Mikado. You have that puffy look. So I'm going to highlight that center line on top of the pleats. First, you are going to highlight it after pleating on top of it. So this is my waistline. Then we'll begin to measure right now. So from the center back area, I'm still trying to highlight it to the zipper point on top of the pleats. So now I'm going to measure from this point. You are going to measure downwards 1 inch. Then you measure the other way 3 inches. From the waistline downwards 3 inches. Then you connect the 1 inch to your 3 inches. Okay, so that is how we are going to stitch. Of course, you see how I stitched it. Then from that down part, just measure 4 inches and place your 4 inches on the 1 inch and measure wherever the 4 inches terminates on top. You also mark it. So that is how the pleating is going to be. Now I'm going to the machine now to show you how I stitched this. But before you do that, please secure on those lines I marked. I have to pin it so it does not scatter. So I'm pinning in a way I can stitch right on top of my pins. So we are going to stitch the pleat straight from the following the lines that we have. So this dress is somehow technical. So now I came over to the machine and I'm going to start pleating. So I decided to start pleating from the zipper area. So the first pleat I had is almost very close to the zip, but I have to place my presser foot. I drop my presser foot on that line. Make sure you drop on each pleat. Make sure you start stitching from the line. So I stitched all the way and I stopped on where I marked. So you need the markings right there to serve as a guideline. So I'm stopping on that line I marked initially. So I'm done with the first one. I will go over to the second one. So on the second one, I also started on that line I highlighted. So I'm sewing straight on the pleating and I will stop on the next line. So like that, I also went to the other line. So I went to the other pleat and make sure is on the line I marked. So the line is the line is the guide. So anyhow you want your pleating to look like, if you want to make an empire waist for it, just draw the line and follow the line and stitch accordingly. So this is what I did. From that point, I also stitched all the way down to the next line. Then I went to the other part. So as I'm stitching, I'm cutting out my thread, of course. So the next one, I stitched all the way. So that is how I stitched all of them, and that is how I'm going to stitch the rest of them. So I only stitched only one section, okay? That's 1/4 of the dress. So now I'm taking off my pin. So this is what I got after I'm done stitching. So I have stitched the both of them using the same pattern. You can see how it's moving in that direction like a V. So you can now go ahead and iron the pleats very well the way you see me demonstrate right here. So the back piece is ready. I'm going to set the back piece aside and I'm going to work on the front piece. So make sure you iron. The ironing is very important. So you can take the measurement of your waistline, okay? Even if you have an excess more than what you wanted, you can pleat it in again, okay? And proceed. It's okay. It's not out of place. So now we'll move over to the front piece. So the back is ready and I'm going to repeat the same thing I did for the back on the front, but I'll still show you what I did for clarity. So here I'm going to take my waistline once again. So if you did not understand what I did in the other parts, so this is another opportunity. So I'll now go ahead and mark again on my waistline. That is my center front. Now I'll go ahead and mark 5 inches. So you can just go ahead and mark 5 inches because we have already calculated it. So I marked 5 inches into 5 places because we have 5 pleats. So I'll continue to mark till I got 5. So the rest of it will be my 7.5. Now always make sure you pleat towards the center front. So I'll pick it at the center to the center front like that, like that. So that is what I did. So I'll keep picking it at the center and kissing it at the line and secure with my pins, after which I ironed it. Of course, I've demonstrated this method at the back piece. So this is what I got right here. I'm securing it with my pin. So it is very important that the pleats goes in the direction of the sleeve as you see me do right here. So after that is done, I went ahead to pin, to secure with my pins. So I went ahead to pin. You need a whole lot of pins like I earlier said. Now I took my time to pin everything accordingly before I go ahead to mark. So the front piece, I'll also take my measurements accordingly. After pinning, I came back to the center front. So at that waistline, I'm still pinning that part, okay? So after pinning right now, the next thing is to start taking the measurement, just exactly what I did at the back. But I just want to repeat this for you to see what I did for the front. So now I'm done with that side. Next is to start taking the measurement right away. So I'm taking the measurements exactly the same way I did for the front. So highlight for the back, highlight the waistline, come down by 1 inch at the center front, come down by 3 inches at the side of the pleats. Then we are going to highlight that line, the 1 inch at the center front, slant it down to the 3 inches. Then on that line you take 4 inches upwards and mark. From that point take 4 inches upwards and mark, and also highlight the lines. So after highlighting the lines, then we can go over to the machine and stitch like I did for the back. So you have to make sure after highlighting you need to pin to put it in place before you go over to the machine to stitch, so this the pleating does not scatter. So after pinning now, I'll just go over to the machine and stitch. I'll do this for this side and also the other side. So I'm just going to complete the process, okay? So I will do the same for the other side. So here the dress is ready. I've stitched everything all the way. So the next is to arrange my pleats. So I have 5 pleats on the right, 5 pleats on the left. I'll iron them very nicely. So now we are going to sew the neckline. The front is ready, so we'll now place the front dress to the back dress. Now we are going to stitch the neckline. So I have a method of stitching my neckline. I'll just put everything together and wrap it up with my facing, then stitch 1/2 inch all the way down. I'll do the same the other way. Here you can see my neckline is looking very beautiful right here, and I've also ironed my pleats the way they should be. So the next is to turn the dress to the wrong side, and then we are going to open up the sleeve. So here my sleeve opening, I'm going to measure 9 inches to open up my sleeve. So from the seam allowance there, I measured 9 inches, and from that 9 inches I measured 1 inch. So I'm going to stitch 1 inch to shaping the dress. You can also take the shape of your waistline, okay, to make sure that waistline is fitted, because the beauty of this dress is when it's fitted. So I will go ahead and stitch. So after stitching, I'm going to hem the armhole this way, the sleeve rather. I'll just go ahead and stitch it around. I'll do the same for the other and stitch the down piece of the dress. So that is how I'll come to the end of this tutorial. So I'm going to iron it nicely. Like I keep repeating, the ironing is the dress. So I believe this class was helpful to you. So if you are new to this channel, please kindly subscribe, turn on your notification bell to receive videos like this every day. Like this video, share to family and friends, drop your comment on the comment section and your suggestions as well. Thank you for coming, and make sure you iron this dress very well, the way you see me iron, and have this beautiful pleats on this dress. And see you in the next tutorial.